I welcome everyone, and this video is going to be really important, and we're going to look at our modeling toolkit. We have a lot of menus where we have these tools: mesh, edit mesh, and mesh tools. All these tools are going to be really useful for us in the future, and we can access all these tools from these menus, or we have a more convenient way to do so. I will create a sphere just to have something to work with. And in our general workspace, we have a modeling toolkit tab. And here we can find the most commonly used tools to work with a mesh. And we will look through all of these options, and on top we have our components. It is one more way to use them. Vertices, edges, faces. We also have UV selection, but we are not familiar with UVs right now. We also have multi-component tool, but it is not so commonly used. Usually I just use one of them. So the next thing we have is a selection option, and by default it's pick mark, and it's pretty easy. We can click to select, or we can box select our components. So we are already familiar with this option. The second one is drag. I can left click, hold, and drag over the polygons I need to select, and they will be selected. Sometimes can be really handy too. And the third option will work only with a move tool or scale tool, so I can set the option tweak mark, and I will be able to move my polygons just by left clicking and dragging on them. Highlight back faces and highlight near components I always leave as it is. The next one is camera based selection, and right now it's off by default. So what it means is that if I will return by the way to pick mark style of selection, that means that we'll be able to select our polygons through. But if I will enable camera based selection, I will be able to select only the components I'm looking at with my camera. Even in the wireframe mode, to select object through, we will need to go to X-ray. And this way we will be able to select through. So this is actually how it works in Blender. But in my default is camera based selection off, so I will work with default settings. And the symmetry section is really important. We have three types of symmetry here: object, world, and topology. And that's based on world or local coordinates. So let me show you how it works. If I will select, for example, world X, we will have a symmetry over a world origin on X-axis. And if I will move my object, I will move it off world origin, and it will not work anymore. But as we remember, our local coordinates or object coordinates are moving with the object. So by using object X symmetry, we will be able to still work with the symmetry. We also have a topology style, and first we will need manually to select the edge, and over this edge symmetry will work. So as you see, three different styles, and definitely they can be useful. We also have selection constraints, and we probably will not see them well right now because of the type of the object, but we can definitely constrain our selection to edge border or just the border of the mesh, or any other option you have here. I'm not using it too often, but definitely it can be used. And also we have transform constraint with two options, edge slide and the surface slide. So the edge slide, if I will select one edge, as you can see, I'm moving my object, and this component is gliding on top of the surrounding edges, like on rails. And that really can be useful sometimes to maintain the form of the object. And slide, I mean surface, is almost the same, but the whole surface of the object will be used. So you can change the structure, but maintain the shape of your mesh. And actually, to slide over our edge, we have a more interactive way. With the move tool selected, I can press Ctrl and Shift, and this will enable the transform constraint. And I'm not sure if it's edge or surface. I think it's edge constraint, and I use it a lot actually. Like this, so Control Shift and move the component. So the next thing we have is soft selection. In some other programs it's called proportional selection, and as you can see, when I enable it, everything appears in the yellow tones. We can also access the options of the soft selection if we will go to tool settings. In our move tool settings, or rotate tool settings, or scale tool settings, the options are duplicating each other, and we can decrease fall-off radius, and you can see the zone or the affected area will be reduced, but it is not convenient to use it like this. As you can see, our object is starting to move differently, like a jelly. And if I will click B and slide my left mouse button, I will be able to manually adjust this area, and it can be used to change proportions. We also have a fall-off right here, and right now it's kind of a soft fall-off, so we are getting this curve when we are transforming. But if, for example, we want to get a sharp area, we can change these curves to linear preset or stepped preset if we want to get steps. We actually don't have enough topology here to see steps, but trust me, it works. So I will change it back to original curve preset, and we actually have an interactive way to enable or disable this tool. We can just click B in our viewport, and we can manually change this fall off by adding points. We can do it just by clicking in this graph. We can move them also just by left click and drag, and we can delete them by clicking the crosses over these in the bottom of this graph. So actually it's easy. I think we will use it later. So the next skill we need is to combine and separate meshes. And right now Maya sees cylinder and the sphere as a separate meshes. But what if I want to work with both of them in the component mode? I can combine these objects. I can select them and combine. And right now Maya sees these objects as one mesh with one origin, and I can also get access to the components by pressing right mouse button. Easy as that. Well, sometimes we will need also to separate the objects, and I will remove the symmetry, and we can just press separate. Really easy. And the thing I forgot to tell you is if we will double click on one polygon, we will select the whole closed geometry. But don't confuse it with the intersected geometry. If we have intersections, still only the closed geometry will be selected. So they are not topologically connected right now. And I will click separate. So right now, when we did such operations, Maya created groups to support these operations. If you want to delete these groups, oops, wrong key, we can click Alt-Shift-D to delete history. Or we can manually drag and drop our objects with the middle mouse button out of the group and delete these groups. But sometimes meshes will be deleted with groups, so be careful. So mostly it is better just to use Alt-Shift-D shortcut. Right now Russian layout is active on my computer and I'm not seeing it, that's why it is not working for me. But it will work for you, trust me. So the next operation we will need is actual subdivision. We already know how to enable subdivision preview. We can press 3 on the keyboard, but here in the modeling toolkit we have smooth button, and this button will actually subdivide our model. If we will click on it, every of our polygon will be divided to 4 polygons, and we will have floating window. And in this floating window, we will be able to add subdivisions with the middle mouse button, or we can manually type 2 or 3 on or any other number. Be careful with the middle mouse button, because if you have a weak computer, you can add too much subdivision and Maya will crash. So I will add 4 divisions, and here we have a smoothed object, and still we will be able to change divisions by using history. We still have this command in our inputs because history is not deleted. Also, it is a good practice to clear the history from time to time, because Maya can start to lag a little bit.